very surprised when, oh, those polls weren't as realistic as they told me they were. I mean, I don't know.
Until we see a true kind of revolution of the mind as far as what goes on with the media, which we are seeing. I mean, cable news is a sinking Titanic. Their average age is at the youngest 68 years old. And, you know, I don't want to generalize again, because I know that there are probably some people over 68 watching us right now. So I'm not trying to overgeneralize, but, you know, if you got to generalize a little bit just for conversation's sake, typically older people still watch cable television news because they don't realize there are choices and they just think this is news. Again, generally, I know there's going to be people in the comments that are going to give their age and say, and I'm like, look, I understand, like, that doesn't apply to everybody. I'm just saying generally, if we have to do some analysis on why cable news viewers are typically older, that's pretty much your explanation right there. So
well, it's interesting too, because it's the same thing with polls, like, you know, landline call-in polls, because so much of the time it's an older generation that has landlines, and as opposed to the younger people that obviously have cell phones, and so you get a huge skew in the results of those polls, because it's just a tiny inaccurate segment of the population. So yeah, I think that affects things across from cable news to polling to, you know, a lot of other kind of follow-on effects.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I don't remember the last. I think freshman year in my dorm, I had like a dorm line because every dorm had them. I don't know if that's still the case. I bet universities these days, they might not even have landlines in dorm room. I mean, maybe they do, but you know, I remember I had one, and I think the only person that had that number was my mom. Like, I don't think anyone else, like there was no reason to ever give it to anybody, but you know, because I had a cell phone or whatever. And I can't remember the last time I had a landline in the place where I lived. I mean, it's been a long, long time. The only landline number that I can think of is my parents. I remember their landline. I can't remember the last time I called it. But I guess in case of an emergency, I do have that number somewhere. But, you know, I also have their cell phones. But so, yeah, anyway, to your point that I grossly overstated for you there, landlines are pretty inaccurate.
Yeah, no, and I think
not a lot of people use
hilarious.
them.
Well, it's hilarious when then, you know, somebody like Hillary is surprised when, oh, those polls weren't as realistic as they told me they were. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't want to overgeneralize either, but bringing us back to sort of WikiLeaks, I think that alongside cable news becoming more and more atrocious, as you said, you know, they have always been essential, but it's like it becomes more and more clear, at least to me, that if we were to lose WikiLeaks, what a loss it would be. You know, I think 5 years or so ago, I don't think I would have seen that as clearly, but especially the way in which the left and the right have both attacked WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, it just makes it very clear that they are playing a crucial role on behalf of us and we the people, as opposed to corporate lobbyists and Bezoses and the Koch brothers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that's, I hope that, you know, at least attempting to keep this conversation going, as opposed to letting it be lost in the fast news cycle, is one of the things that we can do to try to help encourage Julian Assange to be reconnected. But since we spoke with you last on this vigil, what do you make in general of just how things look like overall? Not really focusing in specifically on one story, but just in general, you know, what are your thoughts on sort of the space between these last vigils that you've attended?
Okay, cool. So, you know what? I hate to jump subjects real quick here, but I don't know how I'm looking on your end, but it just dawned on me. Because again, Sunday morning, first cup of coffee, I totally forgot to put my lights on. Do you mind? Do I look okay? I'm going to hit my lights real quick. You want me to hit my lights real quick? All right. Yeah, that's fine. 1 second, and then
not a problem.
We'll, yeah.
No, I understand.
Okay. How's that? Good morning. How are we? Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Better.
Sorry to everybody. I feel like that was extremely unprofessional, but yeah, sorry about that. I just realized I was like, oh, my lights are not on. I hope I wasn't looking too dark or like you could see my face.
No, if you hadn't noticed that, I wouldn't have noticed. It's completely fine.
Very good.
So what do you? Oh, go ahead.
So how do I feel in between visuals? Well, I mean, I would say I feel like the lack of any type of support, and not. I mean, obviously on the grassroots level, a lot of people have done what they could, but you know, as far as those with the power to actually really do something to better his life, again, nothing's been done, and that's what bothers me. I mean, I think that, you know, especially Trump. It seems like Trump, and I understand now what's really disgusting is that they've put him in a situation where, you know, politically he'd be shooting himself in the foot if he did anything for Assange. And, you know, as much as I dislike Trump, that's something that you can't blame him for. You can blame the propagandists in the media. You can blame the Democratic establishment, who needs to scapegoat other people because they can't look in the mirror and realize we lost to a game show host because we ran nothing against him. You know, when
words were never spoken.
Well, when you only give people something to vote against and nothing to vote for, the only time that works, at least in contemporary politics in America, the way we're seeing, the only time that works is when your opponent is literally a pedophile. If you are running against a pedophile, like we saw in Alabama, you can win by a whopping 1.5 percentage points if you offer absolutely nothing, like Doug Jones did. So, you know, the establishment Democrats, they are as inspiring as we'd take you over a pedophile.